Today is the start of a new journey, a journey looking at the lore of all the beast tribes. And to start off that journey, we'll be looking at the hulking behemoth lizard folk, the beast tribe that would give a Hrothgar and Rúgidin a run for their money in an arm wrestling contest, but also being the living embodiment of why you don't skip leg day. Today, we'll be looking at the Amalj'aa. The Amalj'aa, a people native to the lands just east of Fanland, the golden grassy plains of Pagalfan, right below the river of Ugaram, and above the Sea of Ash, Anne. These hulking lizard folk can be seen around the eastern and southern parts of Fanland, but there is much we don't yet know about these nomadic warrior people. What are their physical characteristics, their symbol and their god? What's their society and culture like? We'll go over all of this and end like we always do with their naming conventions. So let's begin. Physical characteristics. These giant lizard folk tower over even the tallest of Rúgidin, with arms as thick as Lalafell's and faces as beautiful as the mistake you met at the bar. And just like that mistake, they are carnivorous predators, having meals that consist entirely of various meats. Primarily meat from giant tortoises they hunt, or sheep and drake that they commonly keep as livestock and beasts of burden. The Amalj'aa's unique anatomy also allows them to never need to drink water, which, fun fact, has led to a cultural phenomenon where they see getting splashed or wet with water as humiliating and a grave insult. Fluid aura has a use again. You can, in a law-friendly way, tell an Amalj'aa they're a worthless piece of shit. There's also a common misconception that these behemoths are all male, but that's not so. The Amalj'aa are just physically, outside their sexy time organ, 100% identical. Their muscles, size, voice, everything identical. The ultimate equality. This makes it practically impossible to tell the genders apart, even for the Amalj'aa themselves. Yes, even they don't know who is male and female, but they also just don't care. They don't even have the concept of male and female in their culture. However, not being able to tell each other's genders could lead to some potential accidents occurring.
Surprise, but
luckily for them, during their mating season, the males and females all release distinct pheromones, being the only time they can actually tell each other's genders. Then, once they hold hands and do something not so PG that's probably directly out of a fetish catalog, it's possible for the female to get pregnant. We'll know that's the case because she'd lay an egg, which then only takes 7 to 10 days to hatch into a tiny new Amalj'aa, who immediately gets scooped up and covered in ash, in a ritual that symbolizes their people's devotion to Ifrit, blessing the child with his sacred fire and spirit. Let's talk about that. Their religion, Ifrit the Inferno. The Amalj'aa's faith has the symbol of the stylized flame, the sacred fire of Ifrit, the god who blessed their warrior ancestors. The Amalj'aa believe that in the beginning there was nothing but Ifrit, the only god. He created the world. In this world there was all creation, but the creation fought and slaughtered each other for survival. Basically, Ifrit made the world a giant battle royale. In this battle royale, one particular animal caught Ifrit's attention, a race of great lizards with unmatched martial skills. Ifrit then gave them his favor and blessed them with his flame. That flame entered the lizard's very soul and burnt away frailty and weakness. Thus, from this lizard's ashes, the Amalj'aa rose, 7 males and 7 females, who went out and created the 7 tribes of the Amalj'aa. Now, I don't know about you, but being burnt alive doesn't sound like much of a blessing. Unless this is a Wicker Man sort of story. Yeah, smart joke. There's also a very important note we should make here though. Nearly every single Amalj'aa believe in Ifrit, and their entire culture is based upon this creation story. They believe through great martial deeds and through their own strength do they give Ifrit satisfaction and receive his blessings. But note, their own strength. The Amalj'aa we fight in southern Fanland, yeah, most Amalj'aa see them as overzealous weaklings who grovel at Ifrit's feet instead of earning his respect and blessing. They see them as cowards for sacrificing the defenseless to their god, a disgrace to their race, and the very thing Ifrit's blessing will burn away. While we're talking about southern Fanland, we should very briefly look at Zamorak, one of the holiest sites in Amalj'aa culture. Long story short, the Amalj'aa believe this is where Ifrit first blessed their people. Ul'dah, specifically the Syndicate, noticed that this land is incredibly rich with mineable resources, so they claimed it as Ul'dah territory. The Amalj'aa got pissed. Ul'dah declared them enemies of the state and created the term Beastman, sparking war and racism. Yay! Isn't it weird that when you disrespect a culture, they get mad? Speaking of which, their culture. As we mentioned, the Amalj'aa have quite a bit of difficulty telling their genders apart. But this also goes beyond just genders. Yes, even the Amalj'aa think all Amalj'aa look the same. To help themselves identify each other, they all wear unique necklaces and collars. Each is customized to allow others to quickly discern the name and rank of the wearer, which, to me, just seems like an identity theft problem waiting to happen. And probably why their collars are so important and seen as quite a trophy to take in combat. Taking an Amalj'aa's collar is literally taking their life. Like, if you're an Amalj'aa, you can effectively become them by just wearing their collar. We've also mentioned how the Amalj'aa are a nomadic people, traveling all over Pagelfan in whichever of the 7 tribes they are a part of. When they move, they try their best to find the best hunting spot, as well as where there's water and good grazing land for their animals. Which means that the 7 tribes are quite often at war and slaughtering each other for the best land. And that's how they like life, until something outside of their 7 tribes bothers them. Then the Amalj'aa near immediately unify into a single force. One of the 7 tribes' leaders are elected as War Master for the entire race, temporarily unifying them against whatever rustled their jimmies. And doing this here? Yeah, that's the jimmies fully rustled. The Amalj'aa society has a tiered system with practically zero potential movement in it. Let's talk about how they're placed. When an Amalj'aa is born, they have that little ash bath celebration we talked about. then their parents are immediately done with them. They made the baby, their direct parental duty is done, and they go back to whatever their job was before mating, barely talking to each other, and maybe next season they'll mate with someone else. For the children though, they are all gathered up together and raised by the entire clan. All children are raised by all the adults. During this time, they are closely watched and tested for flaws and weaknesses, like a bunch of Spartan babies. When they come of age, they are placed in the social hierarchy by the clan based upon their individual traits and personalities. What trait places what Amalj'aa where, we, as outsiders, don't know. But all this does mean that the childhood years are crazy important to the Amalj'aa, because once they're in a rank, that's it. That's their life now. Screw up your childhood, too bad, you're now scrubbing toilets for a living. Or worse, you work for YouTube. But what are the roles in the society? How can we, as outsiders, tell what the roles are? Well, that's where we get to their naming conventions. The Amalj'aa society is split into 7 different strict ranks, further split into 2 tiers. Each rank is shown by their last name. Let's start with the highest tier, the Commander tier, and we'll go from the highest to lowest rank in this tier. Starting with Zoh, the tribe's war chief, their leader. There is only 7 of these in existence at any one time, as the 7 leaders of the 7 tribes. Note, this is the only place where upward progression is possible for an Amalj'aa. When a Zoh is killed, dies, or retires, a new Zoh must be selected. This is nearly always done by the retiring Zoh, and they near always select one of their own offspring, shocking literally nobody. But if the old Zoh is unable to, most likely because they're very dead, their council will select a new leader. Speaking of which, the next rank, Ko, the Sky rank. The advisors to the tribe's war chief on all matters, and who help the war chief decide on how the tribe is governed. And then the third and final rank in the Commander tier, Te Earth rank. They are bureaucrats whose duty is to carry out any of Te mandates Te Ko and Zoh ranks put out. The last 4 ranks share the bottom rung of the Amalj'aa society, the Soldier tiers. Cha, the Spring rank. They are the priests responsible for performing divinations and spells. They also perform all rites and rituals before battles and are casters on the battlefields. Ga, the Summer rank. They are warriors who oversee military operations. They are the ones most often seen on the front lines on battlefields and are the largest rank. Ro, the Autumn rank. Basically the police, but judge, jury, and executioner. They enforce laws and punish all who break them. They differ from the Te rank because they don't do mandates. Mandates are direct commands from authority, while laws are agreed upon rules. And lastly, Bo, the Winter rank. They are builders who are responsible for camp construction and relocation. They also do any other task that requires the thinky engineer type, like crafting weapons and war gear. But what are their forenames? How are their names formed? Well, I honestly couldn't find any official sources on that. And I looked. I even went and looked at every single named Amalj'aa in the game to see if I could find a pattern. and I couldn't find much beyond the following. All Amalj'aa forenames are comprised of 6 letters, except for this guy, who has 5 letters. So the more important part is that they are split into 2 syllables and end in a double letter. And that's it. I'm sure there has to be more on how their forenames are formed, but my Google fu just wasn't strong enough and it isn't in the lore book or games. Sorry. If you're aware of an official source and description, please let me know. But yeah, that's it. That's what there is to know about the Amalj'aa. I hope you enjoyed this start of a new series, looking into all the beast tribes that inhabit our continent of Eorzea and beyond. Next we will travel across the Strait of Melfor to the Isle of Vilbrant. Here we will meet yet another beast tribe, a tribe of mole-like people digging away in their mountain home, the Kobolds. But for now, goodbye my friends, and have a great day.